Welcome you all on behalf of the University of Florida IFAS Extension Polk County. Thank you so much for joining us today. To introduce our speaker, we have Betty, one of our Master Gardener volunteers, who will be presenting today. You're in for such a treat because Betty is has such a passion for insects, particularly pollinators and butterflies. So Betty will be sharing her insights on butterfly gardening basics. So Betty, take it away.
Well, thank you, Julie, and it is so great to be here. Before I start the presentation, I realize that many of the participants will probably know more about butterfly gardening than I do, but this program has born out of my own personal experiences. Just a brief information about what is the Florida Master Gardener Volunteer Program. As a Master Gardener, we are trained by the University of Florida, and we represent the Extension Office and the University of Florida IFAS program. We are an extension of the horticultural agent here to present research-based information to the citizens of our community. We work in education outreach. We work with youth. We work with hands-on education, we work environmental stewardship, and sharing solutions for everyday life. In today's objectives, we will be talking about the principles of Florida-friendly landscaping, basically two of the principles, and the benefits of butterfly gardening and butterfly facts and biology and components of butterfly gardening. And there's so much pleasure in working with the butterflies and working with the gardening. Now, I do want to tell you, before I became a Master Gardener, my idea of gardening was to go to the garden store, look at the plants, and if I saw something I like, I would buy it and just stick it in the ground wherever it would go. And it was just like, see it, buy it, stick it. And sometimes they would sit in my driveway and die. And so as a Master Gardener, I learned the one basic thing is the right plant at the right place. And that's what prompted this whole presentation, is because after Hurricane Irma 3 years ago, my yard went from 90% shade to about 70% sun. And after losing two very old, very large oak trees. And so I decided, as a Master Gardener, I would do the right thing this time. And so I planned the garden. I followed directions. I met with other Master Gardeners, and I met with our Florida-friendly landscape coordinator, Julie, and I came up with an idea of what I want to do. And I went to a couple of native nurseries, plant nurseries, and to select the plants. Now, not only does my yard attract butterflies, it attracts all sorts of wildlife, birds, bees, lots and lots of bees. And so it is bringing so much pleasure. Going into the butterfly program, the butterflies are in the order of Lepidoptera. There are over 17,000 of them in the worldwide, over 700 species in the United States, and almost 200 species in Florida, and 40 that are unique to us. But the Lepidoptera also includes moths and skippers. And we look at the benefits of butterfly gardening. I think one of the biggest benefit is attracting wildlife who seek shelter, seek a place to get a special treat. It gives us a chance to have diversity in the plants that we use. I use no insecticides on my plants and in my butterfly garden, and the harmful insects attract the beneficial insects and achieve a balance there. and it's just absolutely going out in the morning and seeing the butterflies and seeing other pollinators there. It is just very soothing for me. Just a review here for most of you. The life cycle of a butterfly. It is a complete metamorphosis. The butterfly will lay eggs on a plant that will serve as food for the caterpillar. And then the caterpillar, it eats the leaves where it is hatched out. And they will have several different stages it goes through, even as a caterpillar. And then one day, the caterpillar will leave the plant that it's been chewing on and eating and maybe climb up a wall or climb up a tree or a bicycle or anything that looks like a good place to attach itself. And it does, it attaches itself. And to watch a caterpillar just start at the bottom, and it's just like rolling up pajamas and roll, 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 and that skin comes away, and underneath there is the chrysalis. And what an amazing experience to see that. And then when the chrysalis is formed, it's already formed, but as the chrysalis is there, from the miracle that comes from just the liquid substance that's within the chrysalis, and then as the chrysalis starts to change, the color starts to change. And like with a monarch, you can see the outline of the wings before this butterfly is going to emerge. And once the butterfly emerges, it must stay there for several hours to literally pump blood into its wings before it can fly away. And then you have the butterfly flies away for the first time, and for the mature butterfly has one purpose, and that is to eat and lay eggs. How to tell butterflies from moths and skippers? The butterfly has the antenna that has like a club at the end of the antenna. The skippers are like a hook, and most moths have more of a feathery type of antenna. The eggs are very small, about the size of the head of a pin. And I have to admit, I don't think I have seen more than 2 or 3 eggs, because I just don't see them. They're so small. In this picture, the egg at the very top is a monarch egg. And then going clockwise is a sulfa egg. And then the next one is a black swallowtail. And then down at the bottom is a tiger swallowtail. And it's amazing how strong the outer protection of these eggs are. And they will hatch in maybe 4 to 6 days. A female can lay hundreds of eggs in her lifetime. And they are laid, remember I said they were laid on the host plant where the caterpillar will dine. The next stage is the larvae. Caterpillar is the feeding stage. Caterpillar has chewing mouth parts. And this is the only stage of the butterfly where it actually grows.
Come in.
Pardon? Okay. The butterfly, the caterpillar goes through several stages itself, growth stages, and each stage is called an instar. And after about 2 weeks of life, it starts to change. Remember, I said it will go and will find a place that we can attach, and it will leave the host plant, anchor itself and to a leaf, a twig, a wall, a roof, and remain there for a few days or maybe over winter, depending on the species of the butterfly. And then you have the butterfly that emerges from the chrysalis early in the morning. And as I said before, the primary function is to mate and lay eggs. And the butterfly can live for a few weeks or for a few months, depending on the species. Come up now, looking at a butterfly garden. The first one is real estate, location, location, location. And you must have food. The host plants are there. They're called for the butterflies. If the larvae do not have food, there'll be no butterflies hanging around. The butterflies need cover from protection from the wind, from the rain, from other predators, and they need water. Let's look at food. The specific host plants for caterpillars, the monarch, which many of us are familiar with, the caterpillar likes the milkweed. We also need many nectar-producing flowers and year-round plant availability. I mentioned Hurricane Irma. When Hurricane Irma came, the next morning, I looked around in my yard and in the neighborhood. My yard had still many flowering plants, many, many flowers, but the neighborhoods did not. And as the morning progressed, they were just swarming in. I had butterflies and hummingbirds galore because I had plants that bloomed all year round, and this was in September. And so throughout the whole fall through winter, I had something blooming all the time. We need diversity of plants. We need the ones that are horizontal. We need vertical. We need a real variety of plants for our butterflies. And cover. This is not a picture of my yard, but it could well be, because I have my groupings in sort of a horseshoe shape. So there is a place for the butterflies to have cover. They have plenty of food. They have water. Well, let's see how I provide water. A butterfly cannot drink freestanding water. They sip liquids and minerals from mud and wet sand through their proboscis. And shallow dishes with sand and rocks for landing will attract butterflies. We call this a puddling station. Puddling is when butterflies are seen grouped together around a puddle or muddy area. Butterflies are drinking the minerals. They're not really drinking, they're sucking it up. They're drinking the minerals such as salt or from the soil. I used to see a lot of admiral butterflies in my driveway after it would rain, and then the driveway would be moist but not wet. And they would be there drinking and getting their nourishment. To make a puddling station, I used large saucers, like under a large flower that you put under a large flower pot. Put a layer of sand and compost and pebbles, and I cover it with water, but you don't want the pebbles to be totally covered with water. You want them wet, but so the butterflies can land on the pebbles and then not get their feet wet. Now, let's look at some of the butterflies of Central Florida. I realize there'll be people watching this who are not in this area, not from Central Florida, but this will give you an idea of what to look for and what the needs are for butterflies. First one I want to talk about is the Cassius blue. It's a small butterfly, about 1/2 inch in width. And it is here we have the picture of the egg, we have a picture of the larva, and look at the chrysalis. It looks just like a leaf, a good disguise. And if you see the Cassius blue, I see it on the plumbago. I have 2 massive hedges of plumbago, and they will be over all of the, just covering it. They can use also the downy milkweed, milk pea, and the false tamarin. How would we find these plants? Go to a native nursery and you'll find what you need. And the cloudless sulfur. I think I have 3 or 4 different species of just the cloudless sulfur. And here's the little egg. Remember, I said they're like 2 to 4 millimeters. They're so small. I have several of their host plants, and I have never, ever, ever seen an egg, but I know it's there because I have lots of butterflies. And here is 2 stages of the larva. And then look at the chrysalis. Looks just like another leaf. And the some of them have the spots on their outer wings, and some are just yellow, some are almost white. And here is one of my favorite plants, one of the host plants for cloudless sulfur. And this is the native senna. Be very careful when you are buying senna, because some of the senna plants that are sold in the big box stores are on the invasive list, the Florida University of Florida assessment list for invasive plants. Then another one that dearly love is Partridge Pea. Now, I have to admit right now, there are certain plants that I allow to reseed and they can stay, and I'll let them take over. And then for a short while, and then as their blooms fade, out they come. And Partridge Pea is one of them. I tried to tell the Partridge Pea not to grow on my pathways, but it didn't listen, okay? And it'll be coming out sometime after Labor Day, but it is a butterfly attractor, and it's also a bee attractor. The black swallowtail. The black swallowtail has the little tiny egg, and look at the, you'll see these, they'll start out, you see the caterpillar and the larvae. Now, the next slide I'll be showing you will be some of the host plants, but let me tell you, if you have an herb garden, you need to be able to share, or be prepared to share, because the black swallowtail will love your herbs. But here again, look at the chrysalis. Look at the disguise there. Well, let's look at some of the host plants. Dill. Oh my goodness, they love the dill. If you want to set up, just start a small butterfly garden. Get a package of dill seeds and plant them towards the back of your yard someplace, so that, because the butterfly, the caterpillars will certainly eat your dill. They will also eat the fennel. I don't think I've ever been able to have fennel grow to maturity because of the swallowtail caterpillars, but I could have 50 or 100 on them. Parsley, they let me have some of the parsley. That's really nice of them, and the rue, but they love the dill, the fennel. Oh my, yes, please plant it for them and enjoy the beautiful butterflies. Now, I really shouldn't have favorites, but this one is my favorite, because after Hurricane Irma, that day, the next day, I would see dozens of the eastern tiger swallowtail, especially the male, because they're so obvious. You can see them. They're so bright and colorful. And the poor babies were, they were battered from the storm. Their wings had holes in them, and yet they were nectaring, getting from plants that they normally wouldn't use, but they were so happy to be in in a place where they could get something to eat, and it is safe, and they were away from the storm. But look at the camouflage here. Here is with the larva. It looks just like a leaf, and then also the other larva, it looks like bird droppings. Well, no bird is going to eat that. And then when the chrysalis is formed, it looks just like the bark. So you can you know, see how they are well protected. But a female is a different color than the male, but they are beautiful. They're big. They're not the largest butterfly, but they are a joy to watch. I didn't have any of the. I did not have red bay or sassafras or spice bush in my yard, and I wasn't too sure why I had the tiger swallowtail, but I have, and my neighbors have magnolia, and we have the sweet bay, and so they do have a host plant there. And as you see, I have camphor listed. There's camphor trees all around. They make wonderful climbing trees. I realize that. However, it is invasive. So if you do have the camphor tree, bear that in mind. Please don't plant anymore, okay? Because the birds would eat the seeds and then drop the seeds. So we want to be careful about having camphor in our yard, okay? The Polydama Swallowtail. Look at these beautiful eggs and the up close of the eggs. And here is we have upper picture is a young larva, and down in the lower left are the more mature. But there again, look at the chrysalis. Looks just like a rolled leaf. These butterflies are 3 or 4 inches wide. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. And are some really beautiful of the big swallowtails. I love them. Host plants for the swallowtail. The Dutchman's pipe vine it is very it's one of the host plants, and then but there is the gigantic oval pipe vine that is not that is deadly for the Dutchman, for the Polydama swallowtail. And the lantana. Now, we do know that, of course, the lantana that you see in the groves and you see on the roadsides is invasive, and it's very highly invasive. But there are cultivars of lantana that we can use in our yards. The Florida Native Plant Society does a list. There is a yellow, sort of a pale yellow I have in my yard that is considered a native, and the butterflies love that. But be very, very careful. You don't want to get a lantana that is invasive, because it will take over your yard, and that has seeds, and it can escape to our native wildlife areas. The giant swallowtail. Look at the camouflage. I mean, who, no self-respecting bird or other predator would eat that larva? Or look at the face there that it's making. It looks like so fierce. And this butterfly, it can be almost 4 to 6 inches. It's the biggest Florida butterfly we have. And it is gorgeous. And we see this flying around and we think, what does it like? What is its host plant? Well, the citrus, well, in Central Florida and South Florida, we have a lot of citrus. And so we should be seeing more the swallowtail. The wild lime is not really a lime. It's related, but it's not really a lime like we would go to the store and buy the limes. And then the Hercules Club. Where can you get some of these plants? Check Florida Native Nurseries, and they will probably have some of them, if not all of them. Pipe vine swallowtail. Look at the in the center picture, the caterpillar. That does not look very edible. If I were a bird, I would not want to eat that. And so look at the camouflage and protection. And then there again, look at the chrysalis. It blends right in with uh, with the wood and with the twigs, the stalk. And look at this gorgeous color. Um, I tell you where I have seen some of those when I have gone to a nursery and I look around and think, what plants are attracting the butterflies? And I've been to nurseries where there would be a big table of certain plants, and here would be these beautiful blue, black butterflies, and it was the pipevine swallowtail. Pipevine swallowtail like the pipevine. Now, there is a pipevine that's called gigantea, and it is toxic to the swallowtails. And sometimes the swallowtail butterflies will lay the eggs on the pipevine, the gigantea. And it is not a host plant for the larvae, and it will kill them. They will not survive. And we've got to train those mamas to know where to lay their eggs, don't we? Yeah. Zebra swallowtail. I never have any zebra swallowtail in my yard, but my granddaughter lives in Auburndale, closer to north to I-4, and there's like marshlands, not probably a half a mile or mile away from where she lives. And she has them in her backyard all the time. And I think they're absolutely gorgeous. And I'm jealous that she gets them. But look at the camouflage there of the chrysalis. You know, I think we could just do a collage of chrysalis and see how well they have camouflaged and adapted. The swallowtail, the zebra swallowtail, is about it has a wingspan of about 4 inches. There are smaller ones. It does like a marshy area. It does like like wild blueberries for adult food or blackberries. It breeds in low marsh areas, as I said, and then near the swamps and rivers. I've seen them when I've gone canoeing on the Peace River. Did see that then. Okay. And the food for the zebra swallowtail, the host plant is pawpaw. But look at the nectar plants. We can plant those. We don't even have to go to the native plants in the native nurseries. We can get the zinnias and the cosmos. Now, butterfly weed. The tropical butterfly weed that we have in our yard or we see in the stores is not the preferred butterfly weed. And I'll talk about that when I talk about the monarch butterflies. Zebra longwing, that is our state butterfly. Now I want you to pay special attention to the larvae. It's white. It's like, oh my. I'm going to show you the Gulf fritillary. Very similar, but it's orange and it looks like it's got a suntan. And that's how I can remember which one is which. And then look at the chrysalis there. Well, the zebra longwing likes the passion vine and it likes the shade. So this is one butterfly that you can see when you've got a shady area. The Gulf fritillary likes the passion vine, and it likes the sun. So I can remember the bright orange, sunny, the dark, shade. So I have a Jatropha that's about 35, 40 years old. And half of that Jatropha is in the sun and half is in the shade. And covering that Jatropha and all around on the ground, I have passion flowers. And both the Gulf fritillary and the zebra longwing, like the passion vine. And sometimes in the area where the sun and the shade meet, so do the zebra longwing and so the Gulf fritillary. And it's like they do a little dance of like, don't come to my territory, you know, and they're defending their territory, and they do this little dance and then they fly away. It's fun to watch them. You know, that's part of the joy of having our butterfly gardens. There is a red passion flower, and I have been told not to plant it because it is poisonous. But I understand that the Lady Margaret, which is a cultivar, is not, it is red, but it is not. So be careful what passion vines you plant. The corky stem, you can't tell from the picture there, but the corky stem passion vine, a passion flower, is probably about the size of a dime and just beautiful. And look for it. I find it in other people's hedges, and people, it's so small they don't see it, but the butterflies know it's there. The monarch. The monarch is one that we've heard so much about, and many of us are familiar with. And the Monarch Chrysalis, beautiful with the green with the little gold band, looks very similar to the queen butterfly. And going back to the monarch, the egg is shaped similar to the queen. The markings on outside, on the underside of the monarch, are very similar to the markings on the queen butterfly. The caterpillars are different, and if you could compare, the chrysalis are not the same size. The monarch is larger. And I said a few minutes ago that I would talk about the milkweed. Please try to plant and find native milkweed. And mark where you plant it, because it will die back. But the plants are there, it'll be die back in the wintertime. And you'll see these little critters down here in the middle, milkweed bugs. And when you see them, or when you see the aphids, please, please, please do not use any insecticides to get rid of them. I use a mechanical means to kill the milkweed bug, and it's called 2 hands. And I make sure that after I have smashed them, I wash my hands very, very, very good. Well, what about the aphids? Well, you see the ladybug. The ladybug is just like a little vacuum cleaner and will come along and start scooping up aphids. Other predators will come and will take care of the aphids in your milkweed. Now, tropical milkweed. I didn't put a picture here. The tropical milkweed does carry a protozoan, or can have a protozoan on it, that is harmful to the butterflies. And so if you are growing tropical milkweed, after the leaves have been stripped off by the caterpillars, please cut it back. It will come back. Cut it back to 3 or 4 inches, 6 inches from the ground, and it will come back. But don't leave the long, straggly stalks there. Now, you know, sometimes we all have a bad hair day, and so does this milkweed. I mean, look at that. But isn't that pod exciting? That is a pod of a tropical milkweed. And so it's getting ready to send the seeds around. All right. Going to look at the common buckeye. Look at those eye spots. Man, if I were flying above and the bird or an eagle, I would not want to eat something that had all of those eyes. But there again, look at the chrysalis. The chrysalis is so well disguised. I love these chrysalis. These those eye spots are absolutely gorgeous, and this is the wingspan on this butterfly. It is only about 2.5 inches, 1.5 to 2.5 inches, but it is beautiful. And let's see what are the host plants. Well, Firecracker. Firecracker plant is one that we can come by quite easily. The twin flower. I put in twin flower, 3 little twin flower plants 3 years ago. It makes a wonderful ground cover, and it is a host plant for the buckeye. And down at the bottom there on the right hand side, frog fruit. I'm absolutely in love with frog fruit. The flower itself is probably about a centimeter in diameter. And yet it is a host plant for 3 or 4 different butterflies. And the other day, I saw a very, very, very small bee on the frog fruit. I'm thinking, here is this little flower that is not even a centimeter in diameter, and it has a bee sitting on top of it. I love it. And the bee was about the size of the flower, and it was so fun to see. So any of these plants, a firecracker plant is easily, you probably get that in the nurseries. Native nurseries for the ribgrass, plantain, the twin flower, and the frog fruit. By the way, there are certain plants that I just allow to grow where they want to, and a frog fruit and twin flower are one of them, or 2 of them. And the white peacock. The first time I saw a white peacock, I was absolutely in awe of this beautiful butterfly. And here again, the eggs are so small, that size of a pinhead. No, I never see them. But the chrysalis is a great disguise, looks like a leaf. And the frog fruit, oh yes. Frog fruit will, invade your planting area. So keep it out. It'll invade your hedge plants, but use the edger and dig it out. But you will be rewarded. In fact, the state of Florida Highway Department has used frog fruit in some of the median strips, and I think that's kind of clever too. So I've gone through a lot of plants, a lot of butterflies, and I talked about butterflies, host plants, nectar plants, and it's confusing. We will be preparing references to certain EDIS publications that will give you a listing, and we have lists of plants that are really suitable for Polk County, but we also have lists of plants that are suitable for any state or any place in the state, and for host plants and nectar plants for your butterflies. But something that you can come by quite easily if you don't already have it. If you're a master gardener, you probably have the next thing, or you can get it from your local extension agent. And that is the Florida Friendly Landscaping Guide. And this, as far as I'm concerned, is like the plant Bible for pollinators in Florida. And then the Florida wildlife people have come out with a publication called 20 Easy to Grow Wildflowers. Well, let's look at a page from the Florida Friendly Landscaping Guide. Look at this page. Well, I see here one of these plants is good for a hummingbird. Oh, or how about the zinnia? Butterfly, hummingbird, and songbirds or other birds. Also on the of this page, it will tell me if it is a native or not a native plant. Will give me the height, the soil type. Will tell me about the water needs. Well, will it be a sun plant or shade? This book, if you don't have it and you are a gardener, please get it. You know, contact your extension office. They will get it for you. The first time I saw the 20 Easy to Grow Wildflower book, I thought, oh, I want every one of them. Well, every one of them really wasn't suited for Central Florida, but every one of those flowers, I tried to see how many of them I could get. Well, look at some of the pink milkweed. I have that now. And the twin flower, I already had that. And I do not have the Maryland golden aster, the false rosemary, the Tampa verbena. I've had it, but for my yard, it did not grow too well. The native milkweeds are considered allelopathic plants and may be considered Mother Nature's own weed killer. That means they send out a chemical that other weeds can't come in and choke them out. And like I said before, the twin flower makes a great ground cover. Here's 5 more of the plants from the 20. I have the senna, and again, make sure you're getting a senna that is not on the University of Florida assessment list. Wild petunia just appeared in my yard. I did not have to plant it. In fact, I didn't know what it was when it first came up, but I found out once it bloomed. And then Skull's Cap. Oh, by the way, the N stands for nectar, H stands for host. Elliott's Aster. I fell in love with Elliott's Aster. The first year, they were about 4 or 5 feet tall. So you would want to plant them towards the back or around of your flower beds. The Elliott's Aster, one of the reasons it appeals to me is it blooms in the fall. Except I had some that bloomed in the springtime too. But anyhow, it blooms in the fall and it forms a cluster. The flowers are small, probably about the size of a $50. Does anybody have $50 anymore? You know, or a silver dollar? But they're a cluster of beautiful, beautiful lavender flowers. Remember, I said some plants in my yard have permission to grow wherever they want to reseed. Well, the Elliott's Aster, you get a plant and it will reseed, but right there around in a circle around where the mother plant is. And it is not invasive. And if you get too many, then dig them up in the springtime and share them with a friend. The bees and the butterflies love them. Besides, it's one of the few plants that are blooming in September, October, November, December. In fact, here's a picture of a cluster of Elliott's Aster. Now, I am the world's laziest gardener. I mean, I really do believe that if it lives, it lives. If it's going to die, it's going to die. But I don't always follow the right plant in the right place. I do now, but I didn't always. So when I first planted the Elliott's Aster, I planted it next to a sidewalk. Well, when the Elliott's Aster this one got to be 7 feet tall. They don't usually grow that tall. It just leaned over. So for a month or so, you either had to go under the Elliott's Aster to go around the sidewalk or take another path around the house. It's a great plant to have, and it is a pollinator butterfly magnet. And look at these. While we can get the blanket flower at the box stores, it is preferably that we preferred that we get the native, because you don't want them to crossbreed. The Rudbeckia, I now have 3 varieties of the Rudbeckia, and one is just blooming now, which is really great because I've already had 3. They bloom at 3 different times, and so that means that I've got, you know, more plants, more around the calendar. Liatris, oh, they're beautiful. We have some growing here in our demo garden, and they will be popping into bloom probably in another month or so. The Coreopsis, or the tick seed, is our state wildflower, and they're blooming most of the year. And really, again, another magnet. When you buy these plants, and when you get these plants, if let's say you go out and you buy 3 pots of Coreopsis, 3-gallon pots, and don't put 1 pot over here and 1 pot over there and another pot over there. Put them all 3 together, because your butterflies want they flip back and forth, and they want a cluster. So we want to plant them in clusters. Same thing with the blanket flower, or the Liatris, and then the goldenrod. The goldenrod will be blooming probably in another month or so. By the way, it is not the goldenrod that causes people have hay fever and allergies. It is the other plants that are blooming at the same time. So you can get goldenrod at your native nurseries. And here, remember I said again about, you know, certain plants have permission. If they reseed, they can stay there, okay? Monarda, a spotted bee balm, that's one in my yard. It can stay there. Beautiful flowers, and they are just a pollinator and butterfly magnet. And then another one that can stay wherever it throws its seeds is the Salvia Coccinium. And I have it just scattered out all of a sudden. In fact, I have one growing up on side of a yellow hibiscus, which is an interesting combination. But it's exciting to see the butterflies on it. And rosin weed. We have some beautiful rosin weed in front of our extension office here. And I love the rosin weed because it kind of stands above the other flowers. And it's not invasive, or, you know, it doesn't take over. And here's one of my other favorites is, sorry. One of my other favorites is the frog fruit. And remember I said it is only about a centimeter. It's only about a centimeter in diameter. Now, the first time I did a presentation like this, we got this far in the presentation, and one of the viewers said, well, I hope you don't tell me that I'm supposed to let that Biden's alba grow. Somebody told me it was, and it's just a weed. And so the next picture I showed her was, let some of the weeds grow. And there'd been research done on how many pollinators visit a Biden's alba. And yet, is it a weed? Yes. It is tick seed? Yes. Is it a nuisance? Yes. Is it a butterfly and pollinator magnet? Yes. So you have to decide what you want to live with. The tassel flower. The tassel flower, I put up with it because I like it. I think it's kind of cute. And but again, certain times it does have to come out. Spiderwort. You can drive through some areas of Florida and just look over the ditches, and you know, even in the wintertime, it'll be blooming. Can it kind of be a problem in your yard? Yes. Is it difficult to dig up? Yes. Is it also a butterfly pollinator attractor? Yes. So you have to decide what you want to have. You know, don't think I told you, when I was starting my butterfly garden, the first part, I had an area about 30 by 30 that had been grass, and and now it was all sun. It had been a special kind of grass that grew in the shade, and I had to get rid of it, and I was going to do the butterfly garden. And so I went to a particular native plant nursery in Central Florida, and I had their list, and I checked off this. I want this, I want this, I want this. And I got there, and I was getting 3 of these, 3 of those, 3 of these, 3 of this, 3 of that. Have you any idea how many 1-gallon plants you can get in a Prius? Well, I can tell you, you can get 99 1-gallon pots in your Prius. And if you have a van, just think about how many pots you can get. But I was not disappointed. Some of these native plants you do need to watch out for, because look to see how large they grow, look to see how tall they grow, get an idea of what you want. One of the ones that has surprised me, and it's just it's a delight. Besides, I already talked about the Monarda, the dotted horse mint, but is a giant ironweed. If you can get that, it's a beautiful purple flower. And then the firebush. Firebush is Hamelia. And I have to tell you, in my property, I have 3 major clumps, maybe 8 feet long, of Hamelia. There is not a day that doesn't go by that I don't get dozens and dozens of pollinators and butterflies on the Hamelia. And the reason I have let them grow is because in the springtime, I have 5 different species of birds, at least 5 different species of birds nesting in them. And then they bloom all year round. In North Florida, they will freeze, but they will die back. They will come back. But look over the list and go back to your Florida Friendly Landscaping Guide. I took a Florida Friendly Landscaping Guide, and I highlighted everything that was a native plant. And then I looked to see if native plant grew in Central Florida. Where you live, you would want it for your area. So native plants, lots of them. Nectar plants that are Florida friendly. And you'll see some here, bottle brush and the fire spike. Fire spike is in purple and red. The golden dewdrop or duranta. Look, pentas, yes, and the shrimp plant and zinnias. And another one of my favorites, a chase tree. Again, it says tree. Mine, I have one that's probably about 18 feet tall, and another one that's only about 6 feet tall. But they are magnets for your butterflies. One of the things we want to look at in your design tip, please try to make sure you have host plants and nectar plants. We want to look at possibly plants, some native, some of the ones to as many colored flowers, plants that are blooming year round, so you have something blooming all year round. We want masses of color. Right now in my yard, I have a mass of partridge peas. Probably in another couple of weeks, it'll be ready to pull them up. They are an annual, but they will reseed. And I do share seeds. And we're starting a seed bank here at our extension office. You can plant some in the sun, some in the shade. Remember, some plants, some butterflies like shade. But whatever you do, right plant, right place. Don't be the, see it, see it and buy it, and then just stick it in the ground wherever you can find a spot. So, what did we talk about today? Facts and characteristics of butterflies, how to attract and nurture them, specific plants. And remember, I'm in Polk County, which is Central Florida. So specific plants for our county, and then plants to use in your butterfly garden. The main thing is I want you to have happy Florida gardening, because there's always something new to discover.
Betty has our contact information for our Master Gardener Plant Clinic